why they have a better chance of preventing oral information and to diagnose oral diseases na pwedeng meron yung bata at an early age. Around 89% of infants and 1-year-olds visit pediatricians, while only 1.5% visit dentists annually. According to American Academy of Pediatrics, a number of children visit the pediatrician is around 89%, while dental visits are only 1.5%. It is also reported that the prevalence of ECC or early childhood caries ranges from 36% to 85% worldwide. So, yung objective ng study is to diminish the existing ambiguity among pediatricians and medical practitioners regarding oral diseases and its prevention. Kaya, yung aim is to provide, yung inong study is to provide information for pediatricians and medical practitioners about oral diseases to prevent them at an early age, since sila nga yung mas unang pinupunta ng mga magulang. This will also enable them to provide parents with information about proper oral health and conduct a relevant risk assessment for referral to a pedodontist.
Yes. Looking at the kanina, right, the objective of the study talks about the existing ambiguity among the pediatricians and the medical practitioners. So, what exactly is the existing ambiguity that the authors are talking about here? Well, this existing ambiguity among the pediatricians and the medical practitioners will stem first from the limited training and knowledge in oral health, especially in the infant oral health care. So the authors, as mentioned by Joy kanina, the authors raised a concern that despite the pediatricians often being the first to see the infants in their first year, with pediatricians being visited significantly more than pediatric dentists, the medical curriculum actually seldom includes the training in basic oral health care. So with the article also highlights the importance of basic knowledge for the early recognition of orofacial abnormalities and the prevention of oral diseases to determine when a referral to a pediatric dentist is necessary. So this will also basically further strengthen the interdisciplinary relationship and communication between the pediatricians and the pedodontists. So this article really puts emphasis on the collaborative efforts of both parties in order to effectively improve the oral health of the child. And thus this article presents a discussion on the relevant and fundamental aspects of oral health care of the newborn, infant, child, and adolescent, since for pediatric dentistry, what it covers then is not just like the infants and the children, but also children through adolescence, as they're going through adolescence as well.
Next naman is yung recommendations for infant oral health. Number 1 is yung oral health risk assessment. Essential daw to sa practice ng pediatric care kasi ito nga, aim nito na ma-prevent yung mga dental disease and promote good oral hygiene from infancy. According to pediatric dental guidelines, every infant should undergo an oral health risk assessment by their primary healthcare provider by the age of 6 months. Early detection of risk factors allow for the implementation of preventive strategies to maintain optimal oral health. So yung kasama dun sa initial oral health risk assessment is yung caries risk assessment, education on infant oral health, and yung fluoride exposure evaluation. Next naman is yung addressing natal and neonatal teeth. Pag sinabi nating natal teeth, ito yung present at birth. Yung neonatal teeth is yung ngipin na nag-erupt within the first month. Yung first tooth typically emerges from 4 to 6 months of age, and sinabi dito na small percentage lang ng infants yung nagkakaroon ng early emerging primary lower central incisor. If these teeth exhibit significant mobility to the extent that exfoliation may occur, there is a risk of aspiration or yung mai-inhale nila, inhalation into the lungs and airway obstruction. Pag daw yung ano na yun, yung ngipin na yun is extra tooth lang, recommended siya for extraction. Pero pag actual lower incisor, ang ginagawa is mas focus sila sa airway concerns rather than dun sa retention concerns. So, recommended pa rin for extraction kasi nga pwedeng magkaroon ng hazard dun sa bata na ma-choke siya, ganyan. Tapos,
For the establishment of the dental home, what the article recommends is that by 12 months of age, that the parents should already establish for their infants the dental home already. So what it said is that the initial visit should include yung thorough medical and dental histories, a thorough oral examination, and the performance of an age-appropriate toothbrushing demonstration and prophylaxis, as well as fluoride varnish treatment.
next naman is yung managing teething discomfort. Pag sinabing teething, nagsisimula siya around 6 months of age and can cause intermittent localized discomfort, irritability, and increased salivation as the primary teeth erupts. Yung infants may show signs of restlessness or a need to chew on objects for relief. Yung mga treatment options for teething is number 1, oral analgesics. Chilled teething rings, and avoiding ng topical anesthetics because yung use ng topical anesthetics may cause potential toxicity sa mga infants. Like yung mga benzocaine or lidocaine can pose serious risks like methemoglobinemia, which is yung condition na nagre-reduce ng oxygen carrying capacity ng blood. Next naman is yung implementing oral hygiene practices. Early oral hygiene is critical in preventing tooth decay and ensuring the healthy development of teeth. Oral hygiene practices should begin no later than the time of the eruption of the first primary tooth, which generally occurs 4 to 6 months. So yung recommendations for oral hygiene is kapag sa toothbrushing, syempre yung parents muna yung mag-perform dun sa bata at least twice a day. Tapos soft toothbrush lang yung gagamitin with age-appropriate size na smear size lang yung size nung fluoridated toothpaste na gagamitin sa kanila. Under 3 years old yun.
So next is the dietary considerations. Parents should be educated on the carcinogenicity of certain foods and beverages, focusing on their frequency of consumption and their role in the demineralization and remineralization process. So while breastfeeding provides numerous health benefits, yung excessive na breastfeeding after 12 months can increase the risk of early childhood caries or what we call your ECC. So yung nighttime bottle feeding with sugar liquids should be avoided to reduce caries risk. Thus, encouraging healthy choices promotes a balanced diet that is rich in nutrients that would support the oral health ng bata and of course, while limiting the intake of carcinogenic foods to maintain optimal dental health in children. Next naman is yung fluoride use. So yung professionally applied topical fluoride should be considered for at-risk children. Why? Because of course, we all know that fluoride is a key mineral that helps to strengthen the tooth enamel and make it more resistant to decay. So the paper in this study underscores that adequate fluoride exposure is essential for children, particularly during the critical periods of tooth development. Next is yung injury prevention. Practitioners should provide age-appropriate counseling on injury prevention related to orofacial trauma, including safe practices with play objects, pacifiers, as well as yung car seats down. Why? Because parents should be advised to supervise children during play, ensure that their toys are age-appropriate, and avoid the use of pacifiers or bottles during sleep, as this can contribute to both dental injuries and caries, especially if hindi sila palaging nababantayan ng parents. So it's very important that they are there, attentive of what their child is doing. Next is yung addressing non-nutritive habits. So it's important to discuss the need to wean infants from these habits. Example, thumb sucking, pacifier use before they lead to malocclusion or skeletal dysplasias, potentially using habit-breaking intraoral appliances. It is recommended that healthcare providers discuss these habits with parents during routine checkups, emphasizing the importance of weaning children off these behaviors by the age of 3. So the paper suggests that if children do not stop these habits on their own, the use of habit-breaking intraoral appliances may be necessary to help discourage thumb sucking or yung pacifier use. So the early intervention is very crucial to prevent the development of more severe dental problems that may require extensive orthodontic treatment later on.
Next is the management of caries of primary prevention. So, first is fluoride. Sabi dito, it is the most cost-effective and effective caries prevention method. Isang example dito is yung ginagawa natin sa MDA natin, yung topical fluoride application. So, hanggang kailan ba natin to ginagawa sa bata? Ang sabi sa study is, unnecessary na siya after 16 years. Pero, after 16 years, topical benefits is pwede pa nating makuha through optimally fluoridated water and professionally applied fluoride at yung mga fluoridated toothpaste natin. Next is yung oral hygiene. Adolescents are at high risk for caries and periodontal disease. So, adolescents mas high risk kasi tayo, mas nagko-consume na tayo ng mas carcinogenic foods, mas more on sugary foods tayo. And madalas is nagne-neglect ng oral hygiene practices. So, paano pa natin pwede ma-prevent ito? Ito nga yung toothbrushing with fluoridated toothpaste, professional plaque and calculus removal, yung oral prophylaxis, and flossing. Next is diet management. Adolescents frequently consume high levels of refined carbohydrates and acidic drinks. So, yun nga, more on refined carbohydrates and acidic drinks tayo. So, pwedeng solution dito is yung diet analysis. Last is yung sealants. Recommended siya for any tooth, primary or permanent. At yung mga at risk for pit and fissure caries. Ayun.
So, ang secondary preventions for the early preventive interventions is, siyempre kaunahan is professional preventive care, which necessitates kasi lack of professional care may result in advanced stages of oral disease, thus requiring extensive treatment. Routine monitoring is important in the early prevention and disclosure of oral diseases. Next is restorative dentistry, which is necessary in cases where carious lesions have progressed. And next is the periodontal disease. Periodontal tissue damage begins during adolescence due to an increase in hormones. Alam naman na natin yan. Making them highly susceptible to periodontal diseases. Personal oral hygiene and regular professional intervention can minimize occurrence of these conditions and prevent irreversible damage to the periodontium. Next is malocclusion. Tooth and jaw problems cause aesthetic, functional, and emotional difficulties. These should be managed not only by pedodontists but also orthodontists. Next is third molars. Alam naman natin, we need to monitor the growth of third molars to prevent yun lang, hindi lang malocclusion but also na masira ito to prevent to assure better eruption of the tooth. Next is ectopic eruptions, which is abnormal eruption patterns. These contribute to resorption, bone loss, periodontal problems, and aesthetic problems. Early diagnosis of ectopic eruptions helps manage a healthier eruption and more aesthetically pleasing dentition. Next and last is traumatic injuries, which are mostly due to falls,
accidents, violence, and sports. Alam naman natin pag bata, very susceptible to trauma dahil lagi silang nauuntog, mga ganon. So, protective equipment is imperative during active sports lalo na. And the use of face guards, mouth guards that are made to fit the age of the user is highly recommended to prevent further traumatic injuries.
Integration of pediatric and dental care. So the Journal article emphasizes the crucial role pediatricians play in promoting early oral health, education, and disease prevention. This reinforces the significance of interdisciplinary collaboration within healthcare, particularly in addressing the oral health needs of young patients. It highlights how closely oral health is linked to a child's overall well-being, a connection that is often underemphasized in early medical care. So as we all observe naman, there is a traditional divide between medical and the dental practice. So this article suggests that pediatricians should be equipped to provide not only preventive oral health advice, but also to initiate timely referrals to pediatric dentists at critical developmental stages. So with that approach, it could lead to a more comprehensive care. So next. Conclusion. So this paper concludes that many childhood dental diseases are preventable through education and early detection. It advocates for stronger collaboration between pediatricians and pedodontists to ensure early interventions that can prevent the development of dental diseases, ultimately promoting a proactive and comprehensive approach to oral health from infancy through adolescence. So it basically highlights the critical need for a stronger, more seamless collaboration between pediatricians and pedodontists. So by fostering early intervention, this interdisciplinary approach can greatly reduce the prevalence of oral health problems in children. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so on their journal report, okay, it is highlighted on how to reduce yung ating early childhood caries. Okay, actually, the government right now, even the Department of Health is advocating for the first 1,000 days. Okay, from during pregnancy up to the first 2 years, actually, ng ating mga kabataan. Okay, kaya yun ang ina-advocate ngayon ng DOH. Kaya yung mga lectures ngayon, even in the community dentistry, nakafocus siya sa maternal and child. Okay, na as early as pinagbubuntis pa lang ng magulang, yung bata, natuturuan na yung magulang on how to properly take care ng mga ngipin ng kanilang magiging mga anak. Kasi sabi nga nila, kapag mahilig sa matamis ang magulang, most probably, may transfer din yan sa kanyang mga anak. Okay? And even yung sharing of spoons and dun sa mga bata, tinuturo yan sa mga magulang pag nag-lecture kami sa mga communities na ina-adapt namin. And of course, even the Department of Education is focused on young children. Okay? Kaya nga, madalas, di ba, yung mga, even the PDA, the Philippine Dental Association, meron silang program on its third year na ngayon. Dati it's Oral Health Ora mismo ang title. Okay? Kung saan nakafocus tayo sa mga younger patients. Para alam naman natin kasi, di ba, ang major cause ng absenteeism ng mga bata is due to oral health or cavities. Okay? Kaya nga, as much as possible, pinofocus natin ngayon yung pagbibigay ng oral health program sa mga bata para at least hanggang sa pagtanda nila, maidala nila yung practices para maiungatan at maiwasan nila yung pagkasira ng mga ngipin. Kasi nga, isa din sa project ng PDA ngayon is the 70-20 project, which is at the age of 70 years old, dapat at least 20 sound tooth or teeth pa ang nasa loob ng oral cavity ng isang pasyente. This is adopted from a Japanese program which is the 80-20. Kasi sa Japan kasi mas mahaba ang buhay nila. Sa Philippines kasi based on study, 72 years old yung ating lifespan. Para mas more realistic naman, ginawa nilang 70-20. Okay? So dun sa mga bata, babalikan ko yung mga bata, dati ang program it's Oral Health Ora mismo. So on its third year, pinangalanan siyang Oral Health Dapat Sapat. Okay? So pinofocus kaya nga yung mga bata sa mga public schools, Di ba? Binibigyan niya ng fluoride application, fluoride varnish. Every 3 months binabalikan. Meron kaming adopted community in Pampanga. Okay, nung presidente ako ng Filipino-Chinese. So, I adopted yung San Roque Elementary School in Magalang, Pampanga. So, right now, we are on the 2nd year dun sa school. Kaya very thankful yung school administrators, particularly the principal, kasi hindi na ibibigay sa kanila ng DepEd. Okay, pupunta lang ang DepEd dentist dun sa school, gagawa ng record, yan lang yun. Tapos aalis na. Pag nagawa na nila yung mga records, wala na. Diba? Unlike as a private sector like the PDA, binibigay natin yung programa sa kanila, nilalapit natin yung program. So every 3 months, nandun kami sa school, pinufluoride namin yung mga bata. Isa pa dun sa adopted community namin sa Philchay is in Tondo, Manila. Okay, we are already on the 7th year. Okay? So majority ng mga batang sinimulan namin 7 years ago, halos ngayon caries-free yung mga bata. Halos half ng mga bata nung chinek up namin, wala silang caries. Ibig sabihin, kasi na-instill na sa kanila yung proper oral hygiene para maiwasan nila yung mga early childhood caries. Then, diniscuss din nila sa early childhood caries, anong number 1 cause? Bottle feeding. Diba? Isa yan, number 1 cause ng early childhood caries yung bottle feeding. Kasi, diba, majority ng mga magulang are working, hindi nila kayang, diba, i-sustain yung breastfeeding. Kaya lang, sa hospitals, diba, in hospitals, they are advocating talaga breastfeeding. Sabi nga nila, mura na, masustansya pa. Kaya lang, hindi natin masisisi, there are moms talagang wala, diba, na walang mailabas na milk talaga. Na minsan nagiging cause pa nilang kanilang postpartum depression kasi naaawa sila sa mga anak nila. Okay? Pero, yung pa rin, kung talagang wala tayo, we'll go to the to the bottle feeding. Pero, at least, ma-inform yung parents on how to, di ba, properly care dun sa mga anak nila. Lalo-lalo na, huwag mo daw patutulugin ng bata using milk, bottle feeding. Kasi syempre, alam naman natin, ang pagtulog, nandiyan yung ating mga microorganism ready to attack. Diba? So, kung mas maganda, patulugin mo yung bata using water. Diba? Tubig na lang ang ipadede mo sa bata. Okay? The same time, dun sa report nila, sinabi at age 16, tama? Diba? Pwede na natin, hindi na siya ganun kaano. So, usually, professional placement na. Meron naman tayo fluoridated water. Kaya lang, sa Cavite, sobra-sobra pagka-fluoridated ng water nila, kaya nagkakaroon ng fluorosis. Diba? Yung mga taga Cavite wines, sabi nga nila na very rampant ang fluorosis sa kanila because yung water nila is fluoridated. And of course, meron tayo sa toothpaste. Diba? Sabi nga doon sa report kanina, meron tayong fluoride content sa toothpaste. Kaya nga, diba, ina-advocate na hindi tayo mumumug after mag-toothbrush, diba? Idura lamang. Diba? Pero sisipin mo kadiri naman. Diba? So, yung iba, sinasabi na lang namin, kung hindi talaga nila matake na hindi magbubog, after toothbrushing, pwede sila magpahid pa rin ng toothpaste dun sa kanilang mga ngipin. Okay? Ang nangyayari kasi, pag nagbububog ang pasyente o nagbububog kayo, alin ang pumuputi? Yung ngipin? Hindi, lababo. Kasi nilatapon yung fluoride, mas sumitiba yung mga lababo nila. Okay? So, advocate na, di ba? Kaya nga yung isa dun sa mga commercial ng PDA, di ba? Magsipilyo 2 beses sa isang araw sa loob ng 2 minuto, na paikot-ikot, at di ba? Hindi bababa sa 2 minuto. Tapos, idura lang para yung fluoride ma-maintain natin dun sa ating mga ngipin. Gano'ng kadami ang fluoride? Nag-check ba kayo ng fluoride content? Pag bumibili kayo ng mga toothpaste. Okay? For patients 6 years old and below, at least 1,000 ppm. 1,000 parts per million of fluoride. Pero for adult, 6 years old and above, at least 1,500 ppm. So makikita mo yan sa mga box ng toothpaste. Sa likod ng mga box, nakasulat daw kung gaano kadaming fluoride content meron ng isang toothpaste. Colgate below 1.5. 1,350 lang yata meron ng Colgate. Okay? Yung mga locally made, yun pa yung may 1,500 ppm. Okay? Mga locally made nating mga toothpaste. Ang Colgate is parang 1,350 lang. Meron sila, based doon sa mga recent na nakikita namin sa likod. Kaya lang syempre, alam naman natin, di ba, marketable na kasi, di ba, Colgate, toothpaste, pag sinabi mo toothpaste, Colgate. Di ba, kaya kapag nasa probinsya ka, pabili pong Colgate, di ba, yung happy, joke lang. Okay? Noong panahon namin, Maxap nga lang. Diba? Yung Maxap na napakaanghang. Diba? Yun ang toothpaste na available na panahon namin. Okay? So at least 1,500 ppm of fluoride meron tayo. Okay? Tapos kayo, you are using your topical fluoride. Tama? Yung pinapatune nyo sa pasyente na ano, diba? Okay? So, okay naman yun, twice a year. Okay? Pero pag gumagamit kayo ng fluoride varnish at least every 3 months. Okay? Yung varnish na ginagamit natin sa mga bata. Okay? So, ano pa ba? About pediatric. Okay? And then, nakikita nyo doon secondary care. Diba? Yung beyond na doon sa primary health. Actually, even ang PhilHealth and DOH, ang talagang pinupush nila talaga is primary health. Kaya nga sa dental, sa mga packages ng PhilHealth, ang kasama talaga sa kanila is the primary health, which is the OP, the fluoride, and the ina-add namin yung ano ba yung ginagawa nyo para hindi magkaroon ng caries? Sealant. Okay? Pero madalas sa primary health ang binibigay talaga is OPTFA. Okay? Kasi yung primary talaga na kailangan ibigay sa mga bata. Okay? Iwas sa matatamis na pagkain at inumin. Sabi nga ng commercial ng PDA, kumain ng masusustansyang pagkain, umiwas. Alam nyo ba na ang asukal, di ba? Ganun yung commercial na yan eh. Di ba? Na ang pangunahing sanhi ng pagkasira ng ngipin. Di ba? Powder drinks, may sugar yan. Memorize na yung commercial. Okay? So lahat ng may sugar, okay? Sugar away, iwas tooth decay. Di ba? Yan nga yung isa sa mga battle cry ng PDA. Okay? Sugar away, iwas tooth decay. So iiwas natin yung mga bata lalo sa mga powdered drinks at saka mga juice. Okay? Pero syempre, ang mga magulang, tamad na tamad mag-prepare ng pagkain ng mga bata. Lahat na pwedeng extra, madaling i-prepare. Yun ang meron. Okay? Minsan guilty kami dyan sa mga anak namin. Tamad na tamad na. Okay, pwede yan, chocolate. Balakan mo, lagay mo dyan. Nagtista naman tayo pareho. Diba? Okay? So, next reporter. Si Miss Tanay, na taga-Tanay. Si Miss Tanay, na taga-Tanay. Hindi ka nga si Tanay. Nakatanda ko si Miss Tanay yun. 60 year. Tanay apelido, tapos taga-Tanay pa. Tanay Rizal. Uy, mga ka-member daw niya, supporta ka naman siya. Traumatogenic occlusion in pedia.
Hello, good afternoon, Doc Choco. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 1 and we're going to talk about a case report focusing on traumatogenic occlusion in a pediatric dental patient. So, the integration of orthodontics and endodontics represents a pivotal advancement in dental care, emphasizing the need for an interdisciplinary approach to enhance patient outcomes. This study aims to investigate the benefits of an interdisciplinary approach, highlighting case studies that illustrate the successful management of complex dental situations where orthodontic and endodontic considerations converge. Meaning, it will showcase real-life case studies that demonstrate how combining orthodontic and endodontic techniques can effectively tackle complex dental problems. For example, in situations where a tooth needs to be straightened but also has root issues, having both specialists involved that can lead to better treatment outcomes.
So for our background of this study, TFO or the trauma from occlusion is defined as an injury to the attachment apparatus due to excessive occlusal forces. So this condition impacts the periodontal ligament supporting alveolar bone and cement tooth. TFO typically arises from masticatory system dysfunction, abnormal tooth contact, or occlusal interferences created by orthodontic or proximorphic treatments. So there are two main types of TFO, which is the acute and the chronic. Primary trauma from occlusion results from changes in occlusal forces, while the secondary TFO occurs when the tissue have a reduced ability to resist these forces. So, accurate diagnosis of TFO requires a comprehensive patient history and clinical examination to help identify the underlying causes and inform our treatment approach. So, for our case description, a 13-year-old female patient presented to the Department of Pediatric and Preventive Dentistry with a chief complaint of pain and mobility in the lower incisor. So, the pain was first noticed on biting or chewing food and was relieved by itself. This aggravated 2 days before the patient reported. So, for the oral examination, nakita na wala namang signs of any pathological conditions or trauma. However, sa radiographic investigation, revealed na mayroong large periapical lesion involving yung 4 mandibular na incisors. So, for the aims and objectives, so this case report aims to describe the management of mandibular anterior teeth subjected to occlusal trauma.
So for the treatment plan, for the phase 1 treatment, antibiotic along with daily chlorhexidine mouth-rinses was prescribed to the patient. Then, full mouth oral prophylaxis was done. Since the patient's radiographic investigation revealed a large periapical lesion on the 4 mandibular incisors and are non-vital, tooth 3-1, 3-2, 4-1, and 4-2 was indicated for endodontic treatment and was completed in multiple visits. Following the cleaning and shaping, Metapex dressing was given for a period of 3 months. Then a semi-rigid wire and composite splint were given from canine to canine lingually to restore masticatory function and stabilize the teeth. Then the patient was kept on follow-up visits every 3 weeks. Then for the phase 2 treatment, for correction of the traumatic bite, a removable Hollis appliance with anterior bite tape was prescribed to guide the premolars into occlusion and increase the overbite of the patient. Then full-time wear of the appliance was prescribed for a period of 6 weeks and follow-up visits every 2 weeks. And for the final correction of malocclusion related to teeth bite and incisor inclinations. So, ito po yung photos ng phase 1 treatment. Ito po yung splinting na 3-3, 3-2, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, and 4-3. For the phase 2 treatment po, ito po yung radiographic at 6 weeks of Metapex dressing, then 3 months, and ito po yung final obturation. Then ito naman po yung removable Hollis appliance with anterior bite plate. Then here's the pre-operative and post-operative frontal view of the patient's mouth.
Now for the discussion, the treatment typically includes occlusal adjustments, stabilization techniques, and orthodontic corrections. In this case, endodontic therapy was initiated for non-vital teeth, employing calcium hydroxide as an antibacterial dressing which has shown success in healing large periapical lesions. Now, for orthodontic treatment, splinting was used for stabilization to ensure normal function and reduce discomfort. In addition, a connection was noted between deep overbites and large periodontal lesions, which can cause other periodontal lesions. And treatment for deep overbites may include orthodontic interventions such as anterior bite plane to reduce and alleviate traumatic forces, followed by fixed orthodontic therapy to maintain the correction and prevent recurrence.
The importance of this case lies in its comprehensive approach to managing traumatic occlusion and periodontal health. It emphasizes the need for accurate diagnosis and tailored treatment strategies, including occlusal adjustments and orthodontic therapy to address both functional and structural issues in the periodontium. By successfully employing methods like calcium hydroxide for healing and splitting for stabilization, the case illustrates effective ways to manage tooth mobility and prevent further complications. Additionally, it highlights the significance of addressing deep overbites through orthodontic interventions, underscoring the interconnectedness of occlusion and periodontal well-being for achieving optimal oral health. In conclusion, early intervention is crucial for diagnosing and managing traumatogenic occlusion. Treatment should be customized for each patient. A multidisciplinary approach is recommended for effective rehabilitation. Key therapies include eliminating harmful occlusal forces and stabilizing affected teeth. And orthodontic treatment can benefit patients with periodontal issues and traumatic bites.
For the study's clinical significance, the case underscores the importance of the preventive strategies such as regular monitoring of occlusal development and timely restorative treatments, which can significantly reduce the risk of a traumatic occlusion.
Individual.
Individualized treatment plans tailored to each patient's specific needs are essential, allowing for the selection of appropriate non-invasive techniques that enhance patient comfort and treatment outcomes. In the real world, this case highlights how important it is to focus on prevention in dental care if problems arise. They can recommend specific treatments that can significantly improve patient outcomes and comfort. Thank you.
So it is very important, makikita nito sa case nila, it is very important for us to know the proper occlusion. Okay? So even, halimbawa, kapag nabunutan ng pasyente, di ba, na-extra ka ng ngipin. So syempre, kapag gano'n, hindi nagpagawa ng denture agad yung pasyente, di ba, hindi nagpagawa ng replacement, di ba, nata-transfer yung forces dun sa mga other na ngipin na natitira. So sila ang bumibitbit doing chewing and function. Di ba, kaya ang nangyayari, di ba, kapag mali-mali na yung ating occlusion, anong nagiging unang problema? Nagkakaroon muna tayo ng TMJ problem, TMD problem, and then mag-uugaan yung mga ngipin. Kasi nga nata-transfer yung ating occlusal trauma dun sa mga existing na ngipin. Unlike sana kung nilagyan ang denture yun, after extraction, tapos nilagyan ng, after few weeks and months, nilagyan ng replacement, at least, di ba, yung forces of occlusion natin, nadidistribute pa, di ba, dun sa other na parts ng denture or ng ngipin itself. So kung makikita ninyo doon, anterior ang nag-suffer. So lumabas dun sa, di ba sabi nga nila dun sa report nila, during clinical examination parang wala namang nakita. But during the radiographic examination, lumabas na there is a large periapical cystic lesion dun sa mga involving the 4 incisors. Tama, yun yung report, di ba? And then to get rid of that cystic lesion, nag-endo treatment para doon ilabas or pasingawin ng mismo cystic lesion. Instead of extracting the incisors, di ba, they offer a more conservative treatment plan, okay, to save the remaining 4 anterior. So nag-endo sila, okay, and then nilagyan nila ng removable orthodontic appliance, tama? Yung nilagay nila, which is the anterior bite plate. Okay? Dinis-occlude nila yung mismong ngipin, yung anterior na ngipin, dinis-occlude nila sa occlusion para during healing process, hindi sila nadidisturb. Tama ba? Parang tinanggal mo muna sila sa occlusion para habang nag-heal, mas mabilis yung healing process kasi walang puwersa sa kanila. Eh, ganun din yung ginagawa natin during traumatic injury or during trauma management. Diba? Kapag minsan merong ngipin na nasubsob or sumubsob ang pasyente, na-traumatize yung isang ngipin, nilalagyan ng splint. So nilagyan ng splint yung pasyente nila. Okay, para mas stabilize yung ngipin. Parang kumbaga yan sa naputulan ng nabalian ng buto, nilalagyan niya ng simento, di ba? Tapos ina-stabilize muna yung para hindi siya nag-move. Kaya mas mabilis yung regeneration and healing process. So ganun din yung ginawa dun sa mga ngipin. Nilagyan nila ng splint para mas stabilize yung ngipin, hindi sila umuuga. Siyempre basically umuuga yun kasi nga nasira na yung bone dun sa baba because of the periapical lesion. Okay, so nilagyan ng splint to stabilize yung mga ngipin, and then nilagyan ng anterior biplate to disocclude it para mas malesen yung trauma no apat na anterior ng ngipin. Okay? Next, reporter. Sabi ko sa inyo, abutin kayo. May 30 minutes pa.
Good for 3 hours po ang report namin.
Hindi, 3 hours. Hindi tayo ng 3 hours. Gusto mo mga papano ng pasyente nito. Lalagyan ng mga papano. Para buong tao, pwede na balutin. Para pwede i-roll.
Ay, basos ka.
Gano'n kalalaki? Mahaba. Sino gumawa niya? Mayroong balot. Gusto ko pagawa nito, pero mabutasan dito sa may bibig. Para ganun lang, nakatakip pa rin, pero bibig na nalabas. Kasi may mga ganun ako. Dilog dito. Ano di mo na kailangan i-treat mo?
Ay, wait, sorry.
Wall.
Wait lang.
Yung parang sa private practice, sa sakit ang balot-balot yung kasi. Oo, ano. Kaya sa akin yung wala. Magkano na? Puro ka ito kalala.
160.
Na-illusion. Sino ba gumawa?
Sigab po. Tinatakin niya yan.
Business po nila.
Business. Pinagkakitaan.
Oo, ganun din din.
120 lang yan. 120 lang. Ang ano niya, ang wholesale 120.
Kapag nagtatahi daw po kayo, sabi pabili daw po kami.
120.
Sampo, 1, 2.
Game na mo.
Game na, sige na.
Good afternoon, everyone.
What is grade of cranial dysplasia?
Wait lang po.
Mamaya po.
Okay, sige. Wala pa
So, yung case report namin is about interdisciplinary management of the patient with cleidocranial dysplasia, a 10-year treatment. So, let's start with the case report. So, the patient is an 8-year-old male with a chief complaint of no permanent teeth emerged into the mouth. And during the extra-oral examination, the authors observed reduced lower facial height, underdevelopment of the mid-face, a depressed nasal bridge, and mild pseudoprognatism, or the underdevelopment of the upper jaw. And his stature was moderately short, with a history of slow growth, but cognitive development was noted as normal. So, in the oral examination naman, the boy had no permanent teeth present. He had carious deciduous molars, and the first permanent molars had not yet erupted. And his mother also noted that he had delayed eruption of his deciduous teeth, which first appeared after the age of 1. Several deciduous molars were affected by deep carious lesions. For family history naman,
The patient is the oldest of 3 children with no signs of similar issues with his younger sisters. However, his father was affected with cleidocranial dysplasia in early childhood, while his mother was not. For the radiographic findings naman, a panoramic radiograph revealed over-retained deciduous teeth with unresorbed roots and 3 supernumerary teeth in the upper jaw and 2 in the lower. These extra teeth obstructed the eruption of his permanent teeth. So with these results of the diagnostic test, family history and represented symptoms of the patient, a diagnosis of cleidocranial dysplasia was proposed. Next, we will now go to the procedures done for the patient.
So, yung unang ginawa sa kanya is surgical intervention 1, which is under a general anesthesia. Ginawa yung procedure noong June 2013, 8 years old and 7 months yung patient. So, yung dentist involvement dito performed in cooperation with a pediatric dentist, yung sa surgical intervention 1 and 2. And dun sa surgical intervention 1 muna, ito yung panoramic niya. So, ito yung primary teeth na binunot kasi nga hindi pa nag-e-erupt yung isa din.
Gusto niyo mag-share? Sino yung nasa labas? Mag-share. Si Chanel. Chanel. Parang ano eh, no? Delima. Chanel. Junel. Uy, sino si Chanel?
Sinabi ko kayo kung galing. Chanel. Baka naman ba dami Chanel?
Ayan na, wala na si Chanel.
Pero Chanel bukan. Okay na.
Wala na ang ate mo. May kumukulit kasing Chanel.
Okay na. Ito maalam. Kailangan ko yun.
Sorry for the technical.
Yan na, sige.
So, yun nga. Nawala na ako. So,
Yung mga inputs, hindi mo kailangan.
ayun. So, yung 4 deciduous teeth niya, yung 5'1", 6'1", 6'2", tsaka 6'5", is binunot na kasi yung 6'1", 6'2", tsaka 5'1", 6'1", at 6'2", binunot siya kasi nga para mag-erupt ng maayos yung permanent niya. And yung dalawang molar is binunot kasi caries siya. Tapos, yung tatlong to, kita niyo naman sa taas na parang hindi niyo na maintindihan kung ilang ngipin ba yung tutubo. So, yung tatlong to, yun yung supernumerary teeth niya sa maxilla, tapos binunot din siya during the surgical intervention 1. Yun lang. Okay, next po.
So, pagkatapos sa kanya, ni-refer si patient sa pediatric dentistry intervention. So, dito, approximately 3 years siya, every 6 months, tinetest yung, ino-observe yung bata kung ano bang nangyayari sa kanya. So, yung point na to, sinabihan siya na dapat daw mas mag-improve nga yung oral hygiene niya. Tapos, nag-restore sila using resin-modified glass ionomer sa 5, 5, 7, 5, and 8, 4. So, eto. Di ba kanina sinabi niya yung marami nga daw supernumerarity, tapos hindi daw tumubo ng ayos kasi nga hindi pa natatanggal yung deciduous. So, dito, eto, ako na dito, ay October. Ito, October. Hindi, dito.
2014 na.
2014. So, dito, ano daw, ang nangyari daw dito, nakita daw nila na tubo na dito itong mga molars. Tapos, nagsimula na rin daw tumubo yung mga incisors. So, yan. Pag next year, ganun pa din, natubo na siya. Then, sa 2017, nakita nila na yung incisors daw, bakit daw may, inhibited daw yung growth niya. Tapos, next niyan, nag-conduct ulit sila ng another x-ray, nag-CBC sila. Tapos nakita nila na marami pa kasing supernumerarity na kaya nag-i-inhibit yung growth ng incisors. So, yun. Next na po yung surgery.
Tapos po, edi after makita sa CBCT yung supernumerarity sa lower, so kita niyo din naman po, sobrang dami talaga. After po noon, ako pabalik po doon sa akin. Yan. After po noon, dito, binunot yung dalawang supernumerary teeth sa lower right quadrant and one supernumerary tooth sa lower left. Tsaka yung 3 primary teeth na 7-3, 8-3, tsaka 8-4 para yung tubo nung premolar at canine is maging maayos siya. Kasi kita naman po natin na yung canine niya, yung dalawang canine niya, masyado siyang dikit sa root ng incisor. So, kaya binunod siya. Tapos, ito na yun. Yung sa surgical intervention to. Ito po yung after na gawin. Yun na.
Wait lang po. Dagdag lang po, sorry po. Eto, dagdag. Eto, di ba, yan na siya. Ano na siya dito? Ay, ano sa pang... Ay, hindi po. Next po pala, sorry. Yan. Dito, ang chronological age niya, yung age niya ng bata is 9 years old. Pero, yung dental age niya is 7 years old pa lang. So, yun. Gusto nilang ayusin yung tamang pag-eruption ng teeth.
So, para sa orthodontic surgical treatment, approximately 1 year later, so yung oral hygiene level, spontaneous changes in the intraoral environment, and eruptional activity of some permanent teeth fulfill the following conditions which make efficient orthodontic force application possible. So yung mga yun ay sufficient number of erupted anchor teeth, adequate root developmental stage of those teeth to apply extraneous force to bring them into the dental arch due to adequate eruption potential, and the possibility to create adequate space for unerupted teeth. So yan po yung cast model nung patient po. So may anterior crossbite po siya. Tapos, yan din po yung cephalometric radiograph ng patient. So, in June 2019, the patient was examined at the orthodontic department of the Clinic of Stomatology of Teaching Hospital in Hradec, Kralove. So, they took a cephalometric x-ray and an up-to-date panoramic x-ray or OPG. So, yan po yun. Tapos nagkuha rin sila ng orthodontic impressions which prove na may anterior crossbite ang patient. Tapos inanalyze po yung cephalometric x-ray and cast model. So sa cephalometric analysis, nakita na may first-class relationship in the sagittal position of the jaws sa patient. Tapos meron siyang enlarged sagittal position values of the anterior border of the maxilla and the mandible. Tapos this is due to the underdevelopment of the sutures of the skull. And then next, the patient also has a pronounced anterior crossbite due to very steep interincisal angle and severely palatally inclined upper incisors. So the correct position of the lower incisors naman, as seen in the cephalometric x-ray, correct naman yung position ng lower incisors. Tapos yung next is a significant anterior rotational tendency growth of the lower jaw. Next naman dun sa cast model and panoramic x-ray analysis, ayun nga, may class 1 relationship naman in molars on both sides. Tapos may mild crossbite present on the left lateral area. So yung overjet ng patient is negative 1 millimeter. Tapos yung overbite niya is positive 6 millimeters. So yung dental age nga as mentioned earlier was 9 to 10. Kaso missing yung 1, 1 and 2, 2 niya. Tapos may 1 erupted premolar on the upper cast model. Tapos, all the second and third molar teeth buds were present naman dun sa OPG analysis.
So for the orthodontic treatment plan,
Wala din sa
so yung naging treatment nila for ortho, diniscuss muna nila with the parents and they concluded na gagawa sila ng fixed appliances to create space and align the teeth. Sa lower arch, appliances and surgical exposure were used for teeth number 3, 3 and 4, 3, while the upper arch appliances aligned teeth 1, 1 and 2, 2 with surgical exposure. So sa premolars naman, in-extract siya to make space for the upper canines and another surgery pa rin to consider the supernumerary teeth. So yung goal ng orthodontic treatment was to correct the molar relationships, yung overbite niya and yung lateral crossbite niya. Sorry. And the treatment yun nga began with the fixed upper appliances and a lower removable splint was also used to prevent the interference.
So for surgical intervention 3, 2 years after ng surgical intervention set na 2, so ito nangyari to noong June 2020. So bali ginawa nila is surgical exposure of 2, 2 and 1, 1 was performed under local anesthesia. So ngayon, a hook-shaped attachment was fixed to both teeth, bali nag-ortho na. So nagkaroon ng follow-up noong December 2020, yung na-attach na so sa 2, 2 and 1, 1. Makikita natin sa susunod na slide mamaya yung picture. Now, for the surgical intervention 4, na ito naman, nangyari naman to, January 2022 na, 2 years ulit. So, procedure na ginawa is surgical exposure of lower canines, 3, 3 and 4, 3. Was conducted under local anesthesia din. So, in-attach, immediately bonded to the canines. So, light distal forces were applied to the canines to prevent interference with the roots of the lower incisors. So, ginawa yung CBCT, next na, was performed to assess the proximity of the canines to the roots of the lower incisors, which prompted this intervention. So, yun na, nag-braces na 2 for, dahil sa exposure after nun, so para umakyat na. Now, for the surgical intervention 5, so, a year after na. So, extractions na nangyari is, no, March 2023, underwent 5th surgical intervention, the 3rd under general anesthesia. So, tulog na yung patient. 2 supernumerary teeth and 1 regular premolar were extracted from the upper right quadrant. One erupted deciduous tooth and 1 regular premolar were extracted from the upper left quadrant naman. So, yung both upper canines, ito yung picture. And 2 to 4 were exposed and orthodontic attachments were immediately bonded. So, yung 1 numerary tooth in the upper right quadrant was left in place due to the unfavorable anatomical conditions. So, di siya binunot to avoid alveolar bone loss.
So for further treatment planning, this time yung age ng patient is 17 years, 10 months. Then yung dental age niya was 13 years old. The last orthophantogram x-ray was taken in September 2023. For the upper 1, 3, 2, 3, and 2, 4, nag-react naman siya sa orthodontics courses very well, while the 1, 7, 2, 7, and 4, 7 shows spontaneous eruption activity of adequate speed. While yung 3, 7, it remained on its level without any progress in eruptional activity. And another local anesthesia surgical intervention is to mobilize the 2, 3, 7 and to expose it.
Yung treatment pa niya is hindi pa tapos. It remains to align all the canines and the tooth number 2-4. Also surgically to expose, mobilize, and align the 3-7. The patient has all 4 third molar teeth buds which are spontaneously erupting.
For the discussion, again, cleidocranial dysplasia or CCD is a genetic disorder characterized by various skeletal and dental abnormalities. So common symptoms niya is multiple supernumerary teeth, delayed dental age, and ankylosed permanent teeth. So itong dalawang to lumabas sa case nung nasa presentation. Now, craniofacial abnormalities are present over 80% of CCD cases, including skeletal class 3 tendencies, mandibular prognathism, or yung protruding jaw, and a short anterior cranial base. So, itong picture na to, ito yung sinasabing SNB and SNA. So, ang sinabi sa study is mas reliable i-base daw sa SNB and width appreciation compared sa SNA due to the unusual positioning of the nasofrontal suture. To avoid errors, again, it is better to rely on SNB angle and width appraisal for accurate interpretation of jaw relationships. So, example nito doon sa case po natin is yung SNB angle is 1.4 degrees and width is negative 0.9 degrees, indicated class 1 skeletal relationship. So, akala doon sa patient class 3, pero dahil binase nila sa SNB nung width, naging class 1 na yung patient. So, una, akala lang talaga nila na class 3. Tama. So, diniscuss din yung maxillary hypoplasia is commonly seen in CCD patients. Kaso kung i-compare mo sa normal cephalometric values, mukha siyang normal kasi SNA angles is close to 90 degrees. The intercisal angle, which reflects the angle between the upper and lower front teeth, is often much larger in CCD patients, indicating lingual inward inclination of the lower incisors. Mandibular cephalometrics also suggest prognathic mandible, but this is due to more mid-face hypoplasia than true mandibular overgrowth. Vertical growth of the mid-face is reduced, leading to anterior mandibular rotation. So yun nga, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga akala nila ganito dahil iba yung ginamit nila na way since ginamit nila yung